Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. We'll just give a couple of minutes for other attendees to join in, and we'll start at sharp 2:30. Thank you for joining. Hello, everyone. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our webinar on Is the Onboarding Method in Banking Changing Forever? I am Nimisha Jain from the marketing team of YASH Technologies, Egypt, and I will be the moderator for today's session. YASH is a global technology service and outsourcing provider. With a reach across 6 continents, YASH is a leading global professional services company that provides a range of services and solutions in strategy, consulting, digital technology, automation, and operations. We have a strong local presence in Cairo, Egypt as well. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to have all of you on board. Before introducing our speakers, I will quickly go through a couple of housekeeping activities. First, today's webinar will be recorded and the link will be shared with all the attendees later this week. All the attendee microphones have been muted by default. If you have any questions for our speakers, please type them in the Q&A section in the control panel. Your queries will be answered at the end of the session. So let's get started. I am delighted to introduce the panel for today. KV Sharma, Senior Vice President at YASH Technologies, who heads the Banking and Financial Services Technology. He has a rich experience of more than 26 years in solving problems using technology for retail, commercial, and investment banks. He has expertise in delivering solutions to banks across front, middle, and back offices. The digital customer onboarding solution is being built under his guidance. KV? Thank you. We also have another panelist on board with us today, Srinivas Tiwari, the Vice President for the Digital Onboarding Solution at YASH Technologies. He is an enterprise-level technical leader with over 2 decades of relevant IT experience in banking and financial services. He's a seasoned professional with an extensive experience in pre- and post-sales, product management, and delivering end-to-end solutions. He also holds a rich expertise in delivering projects for Tier 1 banks and insurances across various lines of businesses like retail, investment, lending, etc. Now that we're done with the introductions, let's get this webinar started. So today's session is centered around how banks can ensure a frictionless and engaging end-to-end digital onboarding for its customers. As we all know, the COVID-19 outbreak is causing worldwide concerns and economic hardships for consumers, businesses, and communities across the globe. Social distancing seems to be a standard requirement for at least a few years. Banks need to enable both their staffs and customers the tools to avoid in-person interactions. Digital onboarding is the first step in engaging a customer's journey into the bank. Basically, the ease with which a customer can open an account will set the tone for customers' affinity to this journey. So, gentlemen, let's initiate the panel discussion and talk about how to manage through this crisis. My first question is for you, KV. As you're aware that the pandemic has been testing organizations globally for over 2 years now, how has Egypt's organization adapted to it? How are banks adopting to the new normal? Would you like to share a few perspectives on it?
Sure. Thanks, Nimisha. As we all know, the COVID-19 outbreak has caused worldwide concerns and economic hardships for not just for consumers, businesses, and communities. Right. So the pandemic has left business and governments to grapple with a perplexing collection of supply chain and logistic disruptions. And if you come to Egypt, Egypt is no exception. Like any other country in the globe, we have seen Egypt also initially grappling to handle the pandemic. Now, if you look at specific to banks in Egypt, so I must say that the banks in Egypt have really weathered the pandemic relatively well. Okay, I must say that because they got into the pandemic with well capitalized, and the number of non-performing loans were relatively low. That's an interesting sign. Okay, the pandemic also helped fuel the digital growth in the banking sector. While it is not just confined to banking sector, the digital growth, but the banking sector did actually start a journey on the digital, banking side. So there was Central Bank of Egypt also really helped the banks and the consumers by actually enabling certain facilities or features well ahead of the actual regulations. So, for example, contactless banking is something that the Central Bank of Egypt has enabled without really taxing it onto the customers without any additional fee. Therefore, we see with the help of an acceleration towards digital banking and some of the provisions made by Central Bank of Egypt, we must say that Egypt has really, in the right direction to really handle the pandemic and accelerate the digital journey banking.
Thanks, KV. That was very insightful. I'll move on to the next question. So Srinivas, what do you think are the top 5 priorities for retail, SME, and corporate banks globally, especially in the view of this ongoing pandemic?
First of all, thank you, Nimisha, and good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, in the banking industry, especially in the pandemic accelerated changes, digitizing and minimizing the physical touch points of interacting with any customer throughout the customer lifecycle management, whether it is lead generation, acquisition, onboarding, servicing, or retention. Digitizing and minimizing the physical touch points is the top priority for all financial institutions, not just the retail and SME and corporate. Also, few other priorities are automating whatever can be automated, all the low-hanging fruits in terms of, let's say, straight-through processing, at least from front office or back office. Similarly, the third one is the document management through OCR technology. Even though OCR has been around for a while, the leveraging of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to actually apply different pre-processing filters onto the images to improve the accuracy of data extraction from the images, especially with multi-language support like English and Arabic. And then the ability to actually check whether the photographs that are there on the ID are of the same person that the applicant, whoever is applying to open the account and so on. So there are so many advancements that have come across in technology. And then we also have a lot of push for open banking, which was already there in the Europe 4 or 5 years ago, which started 4 or 5 years ago and of late has also come to the Middle East. With open banking API, there's a lot of increase in the interoperability, especially with the millennials who want to operate their account as they see fit, rather than restricted by the outdated software of the banks. Open banking interoperability is a big item on the roadmap of many banks within the region. Also about usage of blockchain for transparency whether it is investment banking, OTC derivatives, or there are several use cases where blockchain actually fits in terms of even eKYC is one of the items which can be implemented through blockchain. So these are some of the high priority items on any financial institution's list, at least for this year.
All right. Thank you. That was very well explained, Srinivas. Thank you. I'll move on to the next one. KV, would you like to tell our audience what exactly is digital onboarding all about?
Certainly. So, digital onboarding, let me explain you from a bank's perspective as well as from the end customer's perspective. So, fundamentally, YASH digital onboarding solution is covering both retail banking and as well as SME and corporate banking. Having said, if you look at from a customer's perspective, digital onboarding solution is all about having an ability for the prospect to open a bank account at the freedom of convenience of the place of choice from their handheld devices, right? So typically, the bank account opening process has been across the globe in many banks and many countries remained either manual or semi-automated with a manual intervention, especially pertaining to signature captures and certain verification of documents. But the digital onboarding is designed as a mobile-first approach, keeping in view of the digital journeys that are happening in the industry vis-a-vis the pandemic that has triggered fast this. So the customers consider their own convenience, and as Srini was talking about some of the technologies that we used, like OCR and AML-based technologies and eKYC. So the end customers can complete the account opening process in probably less than 5 minutes. Okay, that's one. From a bank's perspective, banks, we all understand that very highly regulated entities, and